Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Joining me now is Lawrence Tribe, professor of constitutional law at Harvard Law School. And Professor Tribe, I had to throw that caveat in of if the press conference happens, because as we've seen with Donald Trump, that anything he says is not predictive of his behavior. So we have a problem now that the media is down to reading his tweets as some sort of way of predicting what he will do. Unpack for us all of the ways in which these conflicts of interest are dangerous for a president to have, and do you have any faith that there'll be any checks and balances from Congress?
Well, I think the dangers are overwhelming. I mean, the framers of the Constitution in the Federalist Papers made a point about how one of the difficulties with a republic is that it affords too easy an inlet for foreign corruption. And they weren't willing to wait until particular conflicts would emerge or until the president or other officers accepted a bribe. They specifically dealt with that problem by including a preventive mechanism. There's all this talk about that mechanism. It's called the Emoluments Clause, but it's very simple. It basically says that no officer of the United States can be on the receiving end of any kind of benefit, economic benefit, payment, gift, profit, whatever, from a foreign government or its corporations or its agents. They knew that if foreign governments could grease the palm of the king, or more often the prince, in this case Donald Jr. or perhaps Ivanka, then there would be a close relationship that could never be disentangled by the American public. There's always a danger. For example, when Trump breaks precedent and calls the president of Taiwan, and then we learn that he wants some beneficial treatment by the government of Taiwan for a hotel chain, we have no way of knowing whether his policies toward Taiwan, toward Turkey, toward any other country in the world, toward Pakistan, are really in the best interests of the U.S. or in the best interests of Trump Incorporated. And the amazing thing is that he's not just a potential source of conflicts. He's a constant emolument magnet. He thinks of himself, I think, as a babe magnet, but he's really an emoluments magnet, because what happens is that all around the world, everybody wants to go to his hotels and not their competitors. They want to give him a variance or a special land use permit, and there's simply no way, short of absolutely liquidating all of his assets into cash and then into stocks that are held in a truly blind trust, not just handed over to his 3 kids in some way. No way short of that of preventing him from being a kind of walking, talking violation of the Constitution from the moment he takes the oath.
And Professor Tribe, even before you get to the foreign entanglements and the potential that he's in debt to banks, international banks we don't even know of, and what influence those countries could then have on him, because some of those are state-run banks, even before you get overseas, just go down the street from the White House, sir, and talk to us about the old post office, for which Donald Trump will soon be the landlord and the tenant in this hotel that he has there, to say nothing of the foreign diplomats that are checking in and swiping their credit cards as a way to pay the Trump family. Why doesn't the right now, before Donald Trump is president, simply sever that agreement today?
Well, it really ought to. There's no justification for someone to be on both sides of the bargain. I mean, he talks about the art of the deal. It's really easy when you're dealing with yourself and nobody else. He clearly believes, and I think it's sincere on his part, that what's good for Donald Trump and for his kids and his family business and his family empire around the world and just down the street is good for America. You know, there used to be this saying by the CEO of GM that what's good for General Motors is good for the country. He really believes that there's no conflict. When he said at one point that he could be 100% aiming at improving his business and his wealth and at the same time be 100% president. The reason he thought that was partly that he thinks that if he does it, it's got to be okay, but partly because he sees no distance between his business empire and the White House, which is becoming a kind of profit center for Donald Trump. Go ahead, sorry.
Can you talk just a little bit about, I mean, his children are also involved in this too. Ivanka Trump, who is sitting in on meetings with foreign leaders, which is unprecedented in and of itself, who is supposed to be one of the recipients of this blind trust, is about to move the manufacturing for her clothing line from China to Ethiopia. So she is now in the position of reaping rewards. We don't know what the details of those contracts are. Does the emoluments problem extend to his adult children, since they're so intimately involved both in the transition team, potentially in the White House, and in his business?
Absolutely. There's no question that both at its origins and throughout history, the emoluments clause has been understood to apply not only to the public official, him or herself, but closely held corporations and certainly family members whose benefit really redounds to the benefit of Daddy Donald. And if the framers had been less practical and had been much more purely legalistic, they might have found some appeal in what Trump apparently says he's going to announce, and that is that he will not have his hands on the levers of day-to-day decision-making in the business starting Inauguration Day. But that doesn't matter. What the clause is concerned with is personal and family benefit and wealth. Ownership is the issue. Follow the money, not necessarily the signature on a particular day-to-day managerial order. And I think that the Constitution is going to be violated the moment he takes the oath, which is why some electors might decide that they have an obligation not to vote for him. It also may be why Congress, even though I wouldn't count on it to impeach him, is going to hold a rather dangerous sort of Damocles over his head. Whenever they decide that their re-elections will be more helped by a Pence presidency than by a Trump presidency, they can bring out the impeachment weapon. I think we're in for a really rough ride.
I think we're in for a rough ride, both in the sense that there is no political currency in it for Republicans to do oversight until the moment that there is, and then they have all the incentive in the world, as you said, to switch presidents whenever they want. Professor Lawrence Tribe, thank you so much. It's really always great to talk to you. Thank